Hey folks, this is Tully and welcome to some more game dev. Coming back again today, working on some more of the initial kind of combat related cutscenes. I mean, really they're just cutscenes, but I couldn't think of a better title for this video. But we're just doing kind of the intro ones, still working our way through these. We had gotten to the point where we were actually done with kind of the prologue section, going to get the Omni weapon from the Demon Lord's castle, and now the goddess has sent Hero down to the forest to find the dungeon within. And that's kind of where we're setting up here with this cutscene. We're also introducing this like UI element of the watch, which is going to be tracking time, and I believe it's currently bugged. If we advance, this animates open, yeah, and this is set to a honestly invalid time, and then when Hero takes a step, it is not updating, but then once this cutscene is over, and we move, it does start updating. So we need to figure out why this clock is not updating immediately, and we need to find a way to make it actually update when Hero moves as part of this cutscene. Ideally, the clock should update whenever Hero moves for all future cutscenes, so any kind of moving between tiles should update the clock, but I may or may not like that. We'll see how that goes. But I'm going to build the functionality, and if we end up finding that it's annoying because it's ending runs mid cutscene, then maybe we only have this be a unique moment that happens one time, and otherwise we just kind of hand wave and ignore it. Okay, first step, we need to figure out why the clock isn't updating. So if we look in the backend data for this clock, we should be able to see what's causing it to update. So clock display, in here we have the remaining time. We're looking for the text element in here. Remaining time with a text object. This looks correct. It looks like it's checking the UI stored remaining time. So we have a separate value for the UI time remaining, and that's because this one ticks down more slowly than the actual internal time. And it looks like this updates whenever we modify the clock, but I'm gonna guess it does not get set when we first start the game. Where is this ever modified? It gets incremented whenever we advance the time, and then as a part of advancing the time, we update the time, which modifies the UI time remaining. And we have an initial setting for this. I think as part of load or init, we should probably be setting the UI time to whatever our starting one is. But we can't be calling this all the time. We need to only call this once. When does initialize get called? As part of Bootstrap. So this should be a single time call. So init seems like a good one. How often do we load? I'm going to guess this also only happens one time. Just following this track back. Yeah, in the loading screen. So this only happens when you're on the main menu, essentially. Okay, well then, that means either of these functions should work. I'm gonna guess I kind of like modifying this as a part of init. Or sorry, as a part of load. So after we've loaded the clock state, I just want to set the UI time remaining equal to whatever our current time remaining is. And I think that should have the clock opening with the correct time value. Then we just need to figure out how to get it so it will decrease once as Hero moves. I think, like I said, I'd like to start with that being a anytime Hero navigates to a tile, we probably decrease the time. It's debatable. Because I can either do it as a separate sequence step I have to manually add when I want to have a cutscene reduce time. Oh, that did not fix it. This is still not updated. Okay, we're going to have to do a little bit of debugging then. We're going to take a look at when this gets refreshed, because it's possible it gets set up and refreshed early. Oh, is it set to continuously update? Because if it's set to continuously update, that means we never hit the init call, which would be very interesting as well. Okay, we're going to restart. Are we hitting a breakpoint right now? What's happening? We don't have a call stack. Unity is frozen. Okay, we'll try stopping the debugger, deleting all breakpoints, and then reattaching. Looks like Visual Studio might just be crashing. Along with Unity? Nope, Unity's okay. Super fun. Well, while that's figuring itself out, we'll talk a little bit about the rest of the week. So we are in week 2 of my 4 weeks off. So we're got 3 more weeks to work on this demo. It has felt like I've been working on cutscenes for like almost the full last week. Pretty close to it. I'd like to be moving quicker, but I feel like I keep running into small problems like we're even looking at right now, where it's like I just want to build a quick cutscene, a bit of dialogue, maybe have the character move around a little bit, but then there's some new feature or some new concept that I need to fix or build, and it feels like that has been slowing me down pretty significantly. My hope is that we're eventually going to run out of those new features and cutscenes can start to be built a little bit faster, but we'll have to see. Hopefully today is where we can actually hit our stride, because a lot of the Demon Lord Castle prologue ones had some unique stuff I wanted to build, which I do think increased the polish level, but at the same time required a fair amount of effort, and in some regards more effort than I thought it would. Alright, so this is getting called continuously, so that's cool. And we can see that the UI time remaining is set to 0 at this moment. So this did not get updated inside of the load state. Oh, no, what? You know what? That does make sense, because technically we're not loading from the load screen. We're loading directly from a scene. And so it's kind of doing a... It's doing a kind of fancy load where it still loads all the back end and stuff, but it's not actually going through and loading a save file. So I guess I do want to have this on a init, not load, so that it works while we're kind of debugging into specific maps. Okay, now does this open up with the correct time? Yes, okay. Now we can move on. All right, let's take a look at what it would look like if we added the clock updating directly to the move to tile sequence step. That's not what we ended up using though. We ended up using navigate. So anytime we're in a cutscene, we've been using this navigate to tile and navigate to direction. And we perform the movability, but I guess the movability isn't what advances time? How is time advanced normally? Clock advance. This is getting called normally as part of the combined turn. So when the turn is over and the player and the enemy have both finished their actions, we advance time. That is the normal flow of things. So it's not just on like a move, it is specifically in this situation. if we just do a action sequence step, which is kind of like a custom sequence step essentially for when we want to do really simple actions in code, like this situation, we can just add a action sequence step here. You need an extra bracket to be happy? Yes, cool. We can add an extra step here that when we navigate to a tile, we advance time. That's not what I did not copy the right value. Copy this into here. Oh, I didn't, yeah, I want that layout. There we go. Cool. I kind of also want to do this inside of navigate to direction so that we are consistent in this setup. I think this is going to be... I think this is going to be too much. I think in this particular situation, we want to have the clock advance when hero moves to kind of teach the player about this setup. We might even want to move multiple times so that the clock actually ticks down a bit more than just one, just to make it a little bit more clear. But if we do this every time, if we ever have a cutscene where hero is moving around and we hit 0, in that cutscene, the cutscene might end early and we'll have to like die and go back to the goddess realm, and that feels weird. So this is the most flexible setup, but is the setup that will yield to consequences I don't know if I want to face. The other option is we break the cutscene after the clock happens, we let the player move around a little bit, and then when the player gets near the edge of the map to leave, we trigger a new cutscene in which hero talks about the clock having moved down. Because then it's not us moving hero, it's the player getting to experience and play with the clock a little bit on their own. Would that be a better setup? Let's see how that feels. That actually might be, honestly, the simplest approach. I'm going to leave this here for the time being, because it might be what I want to... This still might be the direction I want to go. But I kind of like this idea of breaking this cutscene into two halves, similar to how we did for the ogre fight in the Demon Lord's castle. And we let the player experience it rather than having the cutscene just tell the player what's happening. Yeah, okay. Let's take a look at our create cutscene. Let's make a new one. What was the current one called? This is called Clock Tutorial. So we're going to do Woods F8. Yeah, that's the right map. Clock Tutorial Part 2. We're going to set default trigger, which will fill in this information into here. We'll make it an end of turn, so it'll happen when the player steps on a specific tile. And then we're going to essentially grab the dialogue asset here. So I'm going to zero this out, create the sequence. It's going to make a dialogue asset. We're going to steal the name of this addressable, delete this one, and duplicate this one. Oh, let me just going to paste this in here just so I have it as backup as I copy and paste this. We're going to rename this clock tutorial part 2 dialogue. And then we will give it this addressable name. Now this should still hook up here. We will give this a dialogue, start dialogue, with this as the dialogue we want to start. Hit 6 and we can see a number of those dialogue options. This one will basically cover what is happening? Why is it not deleting? I'll just do it this way, minus, minus. So then we'll have hero start here with it seems to tick down, and then everything else will continue from there. How many lines is this? 6? Yeah, okay. Now this dialogue changes a little bit. Instead of having the icon reveal in this one, we will do that here. So we'll do cutscene. It's not a cutscene thing? Is it base? I would have thought that this would be a cutscene related sequence step. Oh, it's under combat. I don't like that. I might move that at some point. So this will happen first. What was the data that we had in the original? Player and quest icon. So icon is quest icon, and the element we're going to display this over is player. We'll make that blocking. We want to have the start dialogue above here. We'll do the explanation point after, and we'll advance the dialogue like so. Okay, so that should be good enough for there. Then for this one, we can delete this entry and these two entries, and it will no longer need to modify or move the player. We'll let the player move themselves. So this only needs the first 2 lines of dialogue. Everything else can go. I think we can just change the size to 2. Perfect. Now we have to update this exit room. Is this exit room actually functional? We already had a cutscene for leaving. No, this one doesn't trigger. Did we just remove this one at some point? Looking for woods. Yeah, we just don't have it. So yeah, this is trying to trigger a cutscene that we don't have. So we can actually just repurpose this. So instead, this will trigger Woods F8 Clock Tutorial Part 2. And we can just repurpose these nodes that were kind of doing nothing anyways. Let's see how that feels. So we teleport in, hero stands up, investigates the watch. I feel like I do need to change that line of dialogue to prompt the player to move around. Seems to tick down as I move. See, I told you it would be easier to show than to explain. Hero reacts. Yeah, I think I like that more. It also helps break up some of the dialogue because it's a little dialogue heavy on the second half. Okay, I need to move forward, and I need to be faster with building this stuff. So I think that's probably good enough for now. I think the dialogue needs a revamp, but I'm going to do that off camera later, and we're going to call that cutscene good, and we're going to move into this room. So for this one, we had a slime cutscene, which originally was warning the player about fighting this slime without a weapon. But I think I've decided from my notes I actually want to have the player I want to have the player fail here early on. Yeah, okay, cool. Just reading over some note stuff. Okay, let's modify this system a little bit. I'm going to change the way this works. Right now we have a slime warning, and we have a slime warning adjust, which tells the player to move to this tile. I think with some of the new navigation stuff we've done, this gets a little simpler. Yeah, I'm gonna see about simplifying this. What happens if instead of starting in this way, what if we actually do a cutscene, navigate to tile at the very beginning of this, and we try and navigate to tile 13.6, which I believe is where this is. It is. And we're going to navigate the player to that location with an overrided range of 64 so that the player can find this tile from no matter where they are. And we're going to wait until this is done, so we're going to leave this as blocking. And then we're going to make sure the player's facing is set to north to face the enemy. Now, all these other ones that were adjust, these were just simply making the player move to that tile. But I think if you just end up walking onto this tile, this will just not execute and it'll just move on. So I believe I can replace all of these with just slime warning. So if you try and step anywhere here, hero will just move to this location and we will have this cutscene proceed. I want to give that a shot. Hero may not always walk in the exact same pathing, but I think that's okay. Yeah, and we couldn't do this before because there was a bug where Hero, when stepping on a tile that had the same cutscene set to it, would re-trigger the cutscene over and over again and queue up multiple versions. But I fixed that when we were working on some of the Demon Castle stuff, so this just works now. I would like to add something else we built for the Demon Castle cutscenes, which is in the guard one we had a noise alert. And that noise alert was on the adventurer container. Now it's going to be on this enemy, which is going to be enemy spawn. We don't need a sibling index in this situation because we only have a single enemy in this room. And even then, I could just give them unique IDs. I don't need to automate it by adding the child index of this game object to make it unique. So I think I just need to come into slime warning. We can add another sequence step, which should be cutscene. Oh no, it's UI, spawn, allocate animation UI. So we're going to allocate this animation UI And the one we want to allocate is noise alert, and we are going to spawn that on enemy spawn. We're going to make sure this finishes, then Hero is going to move towards this tile, and then we're going to reveal the slime and have a bit of dialogue. Now, what is the change here? Oh, you know what? I actually want to rearrange this a little bit. I want to have the reveal happen. Is this reveal pattern currently blocking by default and not showing in this UI? Reveal pattern sequence step. It is, and it is not possible to make it non-blocking. Right? Because it has default logic? It does. Okay, so we need an example of how to add that. That should be quick and easy. Here, we'll steal this. This sequence step should have this concept, and it should also have this property that determines whether or not the information is indented or not indented based off of this value. By default, blocking will remain true, so any previous cutscenes with this sequence step should be unaffected. And I think we want this one to be blocking still, so we didn't want to... Honestly, I added this and we don't need to, but I would like to have this functionality be optional, or I'd like to make it so you don't have to watch it. If I want to be able to have cutscenes where it can play while other stuff is happening. But in this situation, I think we do the noise alert, then we do the reveal of the slime, then we have Hero walk over to it, and it looks like this dialogue has changed a little bit. Now it's the goddess speaking first. With this line. I think we can get away with a alignment of right center again, so it'll be to the right of the clock rather than above it. This will probably need to be a medium dialogue that stays open. Then Hero has a line. And then we have a line from the goddess. Which is not very helpful. Medium. Okay, so this can stay open, and this can be close all. Seems good enough for now. Where do I want to place the movement? We could have it be revealed. The goddess says there's a slime over there. It should make good omni-weapon practice. Hero moves over to it, then says, fair enough, but how do I activate it? And then the goddess simply says, in past, the reincarnated could just wield it. It should just come naturally. Okay. Seems good. Do I need to force the enemy into combat? I guess I could. There's not much reason not to. Maybe we have Hero move forward automatically. Cutscene, navigate to tile. We're going to navigate to position 13,9, and this will be the player. And then we will have the enemy enter into combat by doing a combat set foe state, and then it is just called enemy spawn, which is not a super descriptive name, but this is a pretty simple room, so I'm not too concerned. and we will be setting it to attack, which I updated this in between streams so that now we can have an enum of what state we want to go to. So that's been helpful. I should rename this title though. And then the cutscene can end and the player can fight it. And I think this is another situation where the player dies. And we want to kind of force death early, which is unfortunate, but I think necessary for our mechanics. Oh, interesting. This one actually wants to be top left aligned. Also, the clock is not open. We need to update this. Something in the previous cutscene needs to be set. Can we... I would like to find this asset. Demon Castle. Complete. We're going to make a new copy of this one. We're going to call this Slime. First slime fight. And now this needs whatever flags we would have been setting from the previous cutscenes. So we have now completed these two cutscenes. So this one will have a flag associated with it that can now be set to complete. And part 2 will also be completed. Just updating our states. It also looks like the player status tutorial needs to be completed. And clock disabled was already set here. But I'm guessing this is the one that determines whether or not the clock opens or closes. Yeah, player status is the information inside the clock. Okay, yeah, I see why I named it that. Oh, I do need to actually hook that debug flag to our main flag override. So we're going to be using first slime fight, and that is enabled. This system has been very nice. It was something I definitely was feeling we were missing for a long time. Okay, and I think in this situation, I was wrong with my setup of the dialogue placement. Her dialogue should be above the clock in this situation. So we can do top center and... Oh, I didn't even change that one. Hopefully this looks okay. Definitely the clock dialogue stuff is very prototypey. Oh, interesting. It is not where I thought it would be. I thought we had... Well, alright. Let's fix it. It should be using medium. You know, I bet you that is because we need to actually... It does matter which of these we place. And I think it does need to be top left. Top left and top left. And hopefully that should now be placed correctly. Yeah, there we go. This overlapping is unfortunate. Two things we can try. We can try doing top left and maybe even small. The dialogue is a little too long for small. The top left is kind of working. It's a little bit off of position where I would like it. I'd prefer if it was a little bit more to the left. If we do medium, I think it's going to be kind of impacting the slime a little bit too much. I don't think, even though we set up the clock to work with right center, I don't think we have it working for the player. I'm going to do a quick check though. No, it is not aligned correctly for that. We could try doing bottom left, but I have a feeling it's going to be clipping into the black bars of the cutscene. Looks like bottom left may not be set up correctly either. This positioning seems off to me. And it is clipping a little bit into the black bars, so I don't like that placement. It's not too bad. And it's mostly just the arrow. I wish the arrow was a little bit more to the right here. I can always finesse this later. I'm trying to picture if there's a better layout. Like, this definitely has to be here. It can't be to the left because it would overlap with Hero. If this was above Hero, it kind of clips into the slime a little bit too much, in my opinion. The other option is we could have this goddess dialogue close and then have your hero's dialogue appear above. This dialogue is also too long for this section. It shouldn't be showing her name though, because it was a stay open. Stay open, stay open, stay open. It should have just replaced the name with just text. There's a bug there. That I'm going to look into. If the dialog box is already set to stay open, it should not display the name of the name text. Interesting. Good day, unlockable characters, and I appreciate the hydration as always. I'm going to test something. If we move the goddess's dialogue up to be here, I just want to check to see if the functionality I think exists even does. It does. So here, instead of showing the goddess's name, it just continued with the dialogue but removed the name part, which is what I want, but it looks like if someone speaks in between, that functionality is not actually working. First appearance is continuing dialogue. Data is continued dialogue. How does this get set? When we go to show the dialogue, we check to see if we're in long form mode. Interesting. And the character ID equals the previous character ID for the current dialogue index for dialogue entries. I think that's actually an incorrect set of logic. What we should be doing is checking to see whether or not the character already has a dialogue object, aka a dialog box, open and active. Yeah, this is kind of working, but is incomplete, I think. Now, do we keep the dialog boxes around long enough to be able to check that? It doesn't look like it. It looks like we only keep track of the last dialog box. Okay. All this information should be global inside this class. So I'm going to grab the current dialogue index's character ID, string current character, and then we are going to loop through for int I equal to I is less than, greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0, increase I. Okay. So we're going to loop backwards from the previous dialogue index, and we're going to check to see if that character ID matches our current character ID. Now these are strings, right? Yeah, so we should really be doing string dot equal? No. Does that matter? That doesn't matter, does it? No. No, I'm thinking about other stuff. My brain's jumping around, but no, we don't need to do that. So if the current character ID is, this should be lowercase c for my coding conventions. If the current ID equals I, dialog current character ID, then we are looking at the same dialogue. Oh, this doesn't work. I was going to check to see if its closed state was equal to stay open, but it's not quite that simple because other dialogues that don't match this character could have closed it. So if the current dialogue dot closed state equals closed state dot close all, we should return false and say no. Something closed it before we found the character speaking previously. Otherwise, once we find the first dialogue which matches that character, then we should check to see whether or not... I could embed this in the if statement above, but it's fine. If it equaled stay open, then we can say yes. The dialogue should still be open for that previous character because it stayed open and nothing else closed it. Otherwise, if we do not find that character speaking previously at all in this loop backwards to the very beginning, then we can say that that dialogue box for that character was not previously open. And I think this is a more complete way of checking if that character's dialogue box is still open. Check, is character dialogue box still open? Maybe? I don't know. Might work. Let's find out. It's very much a preference thing for me. I would like to have it so that we can have longer voice lines with a character after we've seen their name at least once. I mean, the name part is kind of unnecessary with the image, but I still think it reads fairly well. Yeah, and that just works. Perfect. Something failed. It is failing to find a state machine by that name. So it couldn't find the slime. Oh, because it adds container to the topmost level. So it becomes enemy spawn container. Sure. I don't know how I feel about the actual fighting part, but I definitely still don't like the dialogue placement. It's probably good enough for now. I guess in an ideal world, where would I want it if not there? Like, Goddess's dialogue is perfect. I don't really want it side by side here. Down below does feel better. It's just the fact that it's clipping into this bar. I don't really want to raise it up too much more because it'll start clipping with hero. I don't really want to get into having to have custom offsets for these. Each of these presets should be fine. Maybe I can shorten the dialogue enough so that we can use a small, but the problem is the height, not the length of the dialogue. If it's a small, we could potentially fit it here above Hero's head. If it's a small, we could also fit it here to the right, but then I feel like it gets muddy with the two dialogues next to each other. We can fuss later. We need to get content into the game. We're going to say this is fine. Yeah, it clips through the bar in some spots, but it's fine. Now, in this situation, we could unlockable characters. That's another option, is we could have the Goddess's dialogue coming from the top, so it looks like she's talking from the clouds. But I kind of like... her placement's good. It's trying to figure out a spot to place Hero's dialogue such that it doesn't feel too crowded. But the fact that this action's all happening in the bottom left is kind of just creating that. And as we... I think the thing is, I should just move on, because we're going to find more and more situations where this type of clutter is happening. And I think as I see more cutscenes, we might find a more generic or a more obvious solution as we get more sample sizes, rather than trying to solve it off of this one particular problem. Okay, so we get here and we set the enemy to active, so it is in combat and ready to fight. We could change its facing so it actually looks towards hero as hero approaches. I think the question here is how much do I want to force the player into this situation? Because at this point, there's no escaping. Like, you could try running away, but this slime will chase hero down and will defeat hero eventually, no matter how much the player tries to run away. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't actually seen an out-of-time death cutscene. It adds the black bars to it. Weird. Oh, we don't have an ability. We can't even fight right now. We should add default ability punch to the character. I think we should have unlocked the ability at some point as well inside of Omni Weapon. Do we unlock a flag here? Ability tutorial complete. Do I have that one already added in here? I do not. Yeah, so these flags need to be set as well for us to be in a good state. Or in the correct state the player should be in when they enter this room. Surprisingly, the player almost wins this fight. I might want to increase the gap so that this fight is more difficult. Yeah, if I go into punch, I need to look at the JSON file actually. What is its current power value? Because right now it was doing 1 to 2 damage to the ogre in that fight, but here versus the slime, I think I need it to be a little bit weaker. Because I really want to hammer home the player is not very strong, which feels like a weird game design choice, but like in order to try and create this like overpowered anime protagonist feel, I think I want to start low and have the player have to work their way up. Yeah, so it's the player's doing some damage here, but it's definitely nowhere near as much. Out of curiosity, if we go back to this one, disable, does the player actually do 1 point of damage to the enemy at this point, or is it like doing 0? I don't remember how our rounding calculation works for minimum damage. Could also reduce hero's starting health so that that fight doesn't have to go on nearly as long. Yeah, hero still does 1 or 2 damage here, regardless. Okay, cool. So that's fine. I like that change to reduce the player's damage so that the slime is never accidentally killable in this situation. I want the player to fail. The only other question is, can the player outrun the enemy? If this slime just hits with heavy attacks every time, that fight ends pretty quick, actually. Maybe we make a custom version of the slime for this fight that's just more aggressive. I'm okay with that. And then this tutorial slime will just have just attack and smash, so it'll only do these two abilities. So it'll only heavy hit. And then we just need to change this one to use the tutorial addressable for what to spawn. Okay, and then I do want to tweak the cutscene so that the enemy turns towards hero before entering into the attack state. Here. So we're going to do a set unit direction, and I believe this should be a enemy spawn container. It starts facing north, I believe is what I saw just now, and yeah, it starts north, so that means we want it to flip around and face south, and then enter into the attack state with the little exclamation point. Did not change facing. No errors. Interesting. Does change facing only work for the player? That can't be right. We've definitely done face changing for NPCs and enemies, I thought. Enemy spawn container, direction south. And then enter the attack state. Alright, let's take a quick look at that. Set direction. Sequence step. Set unit direction, sequence step. Yeah, it should just be setting its direction. Unless something else is changing its direction afterwards. Like maybe something in the attack state is resetting its direction to what it already had cached. Yeah, so that's setting the player's direction. We know that's working. Here, so it should be finding a game object, which is slime tutorial. It should find the unit. It does. It goes in here. Should be setting the value to south, and then setting its animation to south. And we're just going to put a breakpoint here to see if anything else ever sets its animation. Something's being set. Interesting. Huh. I see. So basically, when the player reveals the enemy adds a spot sequence to say, I want to look around and see if I can see the enemy. And it does that very quickly in a very fast fashion. And when it does that, it looks like it is changing its direction. And it's going to do that for every facing. When did this get added? This got added... I guess I don't know, because we're just finding the end of turn response. But when did it get added to this queue? Can we check to see if we're already in the attack state before this? On enter. Yeah, it does it when it enters this. Interesting. And that's definitely what we're executing, right? I think it is. And let me guess, it ends on turning north? It does. Huh. I need to disable this. Well, I don't though, because I do want to show the actual alert icon thing showing above the enemy's head. Yeah, so it's doing a little look around and then ends its turn facing the wrong way. Where's the slime gone? Slime tutorial. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right ability. Yeah, it is this one. This one is not doing any of that directional changing though. This one just shows the icon. Spot ability. The alert ability and the spot abilities are two different things. This is the one where it looks around. Okay, and it performs the spot when it is on a tile that is revealed. But it doesn't do that until the end of the turn, and technically the cutscene is playing, and the turn doesn't quote-unquote end until it is over. So even though we have kind of already triggered the spot effect, the AI doesn't know that, and this happens after the cutscene is over. And this just happens part of the tile. Yeah, I don't want to disable this functionality, I don't think. It only gets in here if it spots the enemy. Interesting. And I'm guessing it only adjusts the facing. Yeah, so it'll stop this once it spots the player. But instead it goes all the way through. So in theory then, we don't need any of that logic in the cutscene then. Because as soon as the cutscene is over, the AI on the revealed tile should look around and spot the player, because we've moved the player to be directly next to the AI. I just want to see if we get rid of this logic, does it just work? And was I maybe doing some unnecessary stuff because my system's kind of working out to be smart enough to handle it on its own? It will have the AI look around more than it needs to, but I don't hate that. If it just works. Oh, I just realized we're not actually getting the noise UI that I built into this either. Yeah, the AI is not reacting. I wonder if the spot logic is broken. Did I break it as part of... There's a real chance I broke this when I was working on the ogre fight when trying to disable it spotting the player too early. However I was doing that must have affected all enemies, is my only thought. Oh, I see the problem. It checks to see whether or not it spots the player the moment it's revealed, and at that point the player hasn't yet shown up. So it builds a sequence assuming the player won't be there, but then we move the player to the position where it should have spotted it. That's frustrating. So yeah, the system's kind of smart, but not quite smart enough. So yeah, at this point, it's already constructed a sequence that it's going to look around and find no player because the player wasn't standing there yet. And I can add the sequence steps I did to make it so that the player, or make it so the slime looks towards the player and then enters into the attack state, which will trigger the spot or alert ability for me. But then when the cutscene is over and the turn ends, the slime will look around using the cutscene it's already queued up to kind of fail to look. Alright, so we're gonna have to find a bypass of some kind then. Either we clear the response that we've queued up so that the cutscene never fires, or we make it so that when we're revealing enemies through a cutscene reveal, it doesn't queue up its action. Where did that happen? That was in here? Yeah, so we could just have like a disable spot variable that we store on some singleton potentially, and we set that as a sequence step. You know what, I hate that. That just feels wrong and potentially is not going to solve all solutions. I want to check, is there any other responses that are queued up at this moment that we care about? When we get our responses at this point, there is only one, which is the unit looking around. And that's it. Okay. I'm going to write a new sequence step that just clears this list. And in specific situations, when I need to, I will be able to use that sequence step to clear other information that might be queued up. Not my favorite setup, but I think it'll work for us. Now, we made a refresh the other day, didn't we? We made like a refresh screen, which was quite simple. It was under the UI section. Yeah, refresh screen was a very simple sequence step. We're going to add this to cutscene because this should only really be used as part of our cutscene system. It doesn't like that I'm debugging, so it won't let me copy and paste the file. So we're going to stop debugging, copy, paste this in here. We're going to use this as a kind of template to start with. We're going to rename this clear responses. Ability responses. No. Okay. This will have no constructor. Clear ability responses. And then this will just call to the ability response manager dot instance dot get and clear responses. I suppose that might be useful. We can give it specifically the type of responses we want to get and clear. So ability response types. Ability response types. Type. And this is the type we would like to get and clear as part of this. I would like to make sure that we are giving this the proper setup. Where is another ability? Looking for a sequence like this one. We're going to grab these. And we're also going to make a constructor for this that allows the player, or allows me in the future, to add this sequence step in code if need be. But for today, it'll just be inside of our scriptable objects. Cool. So now if we come into our cutscene, we should be able to just add a clear at the bottom, and it'll get rid of the slime looking around. Cutscene. Clear. end of turn. And then we also need to add back our cutscene. Nope, combat. Set unit direction. And we are setting the enemy spawn container. That might be why this is not working as well. Setting facing the south, and we also need to set its faux state machine to attack. That can be here. We can do change facing, then set state machine. And then we clear before we end the cutscene so the enemy won't look around and look the wrong way. Drixie with the hydrate, appreciate. Perfect. And if the player tries to run back to the door, instead of fighting the slime will chase and defeat the player. Alright. Out of time. How do I make it so this doesn't show black bars? Advance time. It's actually going to be here. Already on a Drixie. We're going to get rid of them. And we're going to make it so that when we trigger the player death or the out of time, we don't show the black bars, because they literally just slide up and slide back down again. Been thinking about that for a little bit. Quick and easy fix. We just made it so whenever we trigger a cutscene by default, it's always going to show them, but in this situation, I don't want them, so. Okay, so then I am liking the setup. I think I want to change the geometry of this path a little bit. So it's actually funny. It feels better when Hero tries to run away. When the player actually tries to fight, it requires a lot of attacks for that slime to eventually defeat Hero. Okay, I might want to tune some of those values a little bit more. Oh, I can't step back onto this tile. Oh, that's because we gave this a prop, but we failed to set this to be walkable. Okay, that's still part of, like, revising this map. Still is giving us small amounts of bugs. Alright, that's fixed. I think I want to change the position of some of these. So I do want to have these slime warnings be a little closer. I think that means we don't need this one here because you could never step to this tile without hitting one of these first. And then I want to modify the front grass here to be a bush, I think. I don't know which one. Don't think we need an accent one. Maybe it's just one of the... one of these. I don't think that's part of our normal default, like, auto-generate palette, so I kind of like the idea of using a unique bush for this spot. And I just want that there so that when the player moves here, it feels like they're more hidden, and it makes sense why they move to one side. Yeah, that's looking better. Cool. So now we need to build a cutscene for returning. So after we force you to fight this slime and fail, we're going to have the goddess comment on... Well, we're just going to show it. Let's build that. So we're going to build another goddess realm. I think these might want to be in folders. I'm going to name this chapter 1. Goddess Realm. What do we normally... We give the room name here as the folder, essentially. So chapter 1, and this will be Slime Defeat. Defeat to Slime. Defeated by Slime. Set defaults. Then we're going to have a couple of dialogue entries. So, goddess. And this will be... The goddess will actually be in this scene, so we can do a top center. Now, go check my notes. What do we got? Okay, medium dialogue here. Oh, you're back. That's odd. Perhaps the Omni weapon is out of power. That must be it. For now, just avoid that slime. And then hero. Are you just going to send me ... And hero should be bottom center. This can be stay open, close all. Should be fine for this setup. And then we will create that sequence. Should put it into this folder. Perfect. Did mess up here. We want this to be intro. So when we enter into here, and instead of the normal trigger name, we actually want to give it the trigger name of the scene. So when we enter into the scene, it'll try and trigger this cutscene, but we need to have a flag so that this doesn't happen immediately on boot or something like that. This was priority 998. This can be priority 997. I guess technically, because of the ordering, we know that you're going to... this is tricky, because we know that you're going to enter into the intro first, which has the highest priority. So even if this one could happen, it'll choose this one as the first intro. And then it chooses this one at priority 998, and we know that you're going to do the first return from the Demon Lord's castle before you get into the forest area. So I guess technically this one doesn't need a flag. The only thing that would be tricky is if the player somehow found a way to bypass the slime fight. But I think I've set it up in such a way that shouldn't be possible, unless you do some sort of like memory hacky, speedrunny type things. And I don't really want to build for that at this time. So I think 997 is fine. And this should happen after you get defeated by the slime. We shouldn't need any extra priorities. Now, for actions in here, what do we want to do? Shouldn't have to change anything in here. We should be able to just load this up and see it in action. This return, how does it send you? It does a trigger cutscene teleport generic. So we should be able to do the same thing. So if at the end we just do cutscene, trigger cutscene sequence, teleport player generic, set the blocking, play immediately. Are those the same parameters? They are. And we don't want to use the cutscene screen, so we won't get the black bars, basically. And then we want to send the player back down to the woods area, so we want all of this same information. I guess I'll lock this, and then we'll copy it this way. It'll be a bit faster than clicking back and forth between them. Is this a backend call transition? Base Transition to dungeon. There we go. So we're going to this scene, going to combat base as our screen. We're going to use a revive entrance, and we will use the cloud transition to go. Perfect. That should be all we need to actually kind of test this. I feel like it's going to need a little bit more something, but maybe not. It's kind of short and it's got some comedy to it, so well, I was going to go directly into the goddess realm, but I guess we can go from here. It should work out about the same. Did not trigger. Oh, because we changed the name now. After we created the cutscene, I changed it to an intro one and changed the trigger name. And I need to parse the cutscenes whenever I do that. I wonder if there's a way to set up a similar... like autosave that we did for the prefabs the other day, but on scriptable asset autosave, so that I can trigger the parser or update the JSON file for that scriptable asset automatically. All right, so coming back into the goddess realm. Oh, you're back? That's odd. Perhaps the Omni weapon is out of power. That must be it. For now, just avoid that slime. Are you going to send me... And then I want another intro cutscene for this room. This one might be a bit too cheeky, but we're going to give it a shot. Woods. And I think that's fine. I was thinking I might want some motion or movement or animation in that cutscene, but they don't all need to be award-winning masterpieces. I can just move on, and if we want to add something to something in the future, we can always do that. Do not need to spend as much time on these as I have been. What is this one? This needs to be of type intro. It needs the name of the room, I believe. Oh no. Oh, I had this locked still. We need this name here. We'll call this landing 2 because this is your second time coming in here. This will have one dialogue from hero with an again sigh. And this can be a small sized dialogue, top center. And that should be all we need. Create sequence. Should be good. Oh, I guess we do want to change the priority of this one. It looks like this one was 900, so we'll want to change this one to 899, and we need to reparse the cutscene after doing that. I'm not going to forget this time. So that basically this one is the first, and this one is the second. We will also add a required flag that says the Goddess Realm Chapter 1 Defeated by Slime cutscene needs to be completed. So this one will only play in response. So if you stand in the first room and run out of time, then this won't happen the second time you come in. It will only come in if the Goddess Realm has played the Defeated by Slime cutscene. So they are essentially linked. Let's see that whole thing in sequence. also feel like that noise alert is a little low from where the slime actually ends up being. Probably not the biggest deal at this point. I also feel like it could be fun to have a cutscene trigger when Hero gets to like below half health. Where Hero's like, I don't think this is going so well, or something along those lines. Oh, we need to change that dialogue to close self on completion. That's all that is. Close self. Perfect. And then that should be okay. I like that. I'm going to say that that's good enough to move on. What do I have next for my cutscene notes? Next, we're building a little bit of narrative. This one I think is cuttable, but I'm going to build it because it should be quick. Copied that too many times. This will be waterfall cutscene. And this is just meant to be a small world building moment. So then for this one, we can go back into create cutscene. This will be Woods F7. We'll name this Waterfall. Should be fine. Priority 99, trigger name, set defaults. Oh, it doesn't like me having clicked in that window. This will be an end of turn. And then we've got a little bit of dialogue. I'll just put it in here. Might be able to get away with a small on this one. This can be bottom center if we can get away with it. Because we're going to have the goddess speaking from the clock. That is not what I meant to do. Goddess. And this can be a... Is it top left or right center? We can try right center first. Medium-sized dialogue. And then just a bit of world building on this one. Okay, let's see here. Small, medium. This can be medium as well. This is supposed to be hero, and this is bottom one's supposed to be goddess. Okay. Small, stay open. Medium, stay open. Can this one be small? Might be able to get away with that. And this can remain at bottom center. And then we have to minimize these because I have not fixed this window to actually have a scroll bar. And then this will be medium as well, right center. Just making sure all the alignments are correct. And this can close all. Cool. Let's hit create sequence. That all looks correct. I should just be able to plug this into here and into here. In terms of extra pieces here for movement and stuff, I would like to have a very simple navigate to tile so that hero moves forward to 7,7. Player, override range, blocking. We could start with that movement. This is 4 lines of dialogue with nothing breaking it up in terms of animation or movement. We could do this. This just means that we need to make Hero's first dialogue a closed self. So Hero would say, "What a beautiful waterfall," then walk over towards it. We probably would also need a set combat, set unit direction. This would be west, I believe. So player faces it. Let's actually have the player move to 7-6 if they're not already on that one. So if they step here, they walk towards it. If otherwise, if they're already there, we'll make sure they change their facing to west. Then what a beautiful waterfall. Maybe we just have a little bit of motion. I kind of want to just see if we can get away with just movement in general. Like, what if there's no purpose to the movement? Because everything we've done so far has had Hero moving with purpose to do something. But what if we just move the player forward to kind of break up this dialogue a little bit? What a beautiful waterfall. Yes, Voswin is full of many beauties. Then Hero just steps forward. Maybe actually we do this move forward here. Yeah, I'm gonna just try stuff. And if this doesn't work, I will leave it, because I'm honestly not too concerned. So how's this gonna work? Beautiful waterfall. Stays open. Ooh, this is actually something we don't get to play with very much. We're gonna have the goddess do close other. So goddess will stay open but close Hero's dialogue. So Hero will move over, talk. Oh no, that doesn't work out. Oh, unlockable characters with the hydration. Well, I suppose we could do it this way. No, that doesn't work. I'm going to try it. So what we're going to do, we're going to have Hero move while the goddess is talking. This timing can get weird, so we can't have Hero move too far. If we don't make these blocking, we can get into weird situations where the player ends the dialogue fast enough that they should take control of the character, but the cutscene is still navigating the character to a specific tile. So we would need some sort of like blocking state at the very end that says wait for the player to finish their movement. Yeah, I don't think I can make these non-blocking. Sorry, I'm just processing the consequences of this. So I think these do need to be blocked, and we can't display the next piece of dialogue. Because I'm thinking about, like, wouldn't it be neat if the character was moving forward and then, like, more dialogue was displaying? But I don't have a great way of managing and making sure that it overlaps okay. Okay. I have some theories on how I could make that work, but for now, what a beautiful waterfall. Closed self moves to here. Yes, Phosphon is full of many beauties. Hero moves forward again to maybe like, say like 8-10. Waits for this, then communicates. Cutscene, navigate to position. Oh, sorry. Navigate to position. And then maybe moves forward again to, say, like 8-13. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm having a hard time visualizing it, so let's just see it in action rather than me trying to figure it out in my head. I do think that we will need to have Hero's dialogue always close in this setup. Because Hero's going to be moving, and we can have Hero move with the dialogue up, but the UI doesn't really do well with that, so I'm going to try and keep the UI as stationary as possible. Stay open, close self at the end. That should cover it. And then we do need to make another version of our debug asset so that we can walk past here without this breaking. So now we are done with the first slime fight. We're going to make another one for post slime fight. Okay, and this one will need to have a couple of cutscenes. It is considered complete. This one will need to be done. So this one will go here. I'm also going to change it to be the new locked version. So that's complete. We also know that the Goddess Realm one should be completed. Which would be this one. That's complete. And the Landing 2 is also complete in this situation. Cool. Now with that one needing to be set, we will make this our new main override post slime fight. Make sure that it is active, and it is. We should be able to walk through this area without triggering the previous cutscenes. And then we get to the next very big cutscene. All of this stuff is kind of mostly around world building, trying to create a vibe. Okay, so that can't be there. So this will need to be like bottom left, maybe. This would need to be top. Yeah, I think in order to try and create this like moving, talking kind of experience, I do need some of that movement to be non-blocking. But then we run into a problem where if the player is hitting the A button too fast, we don't know that the movement is complete. The question is it worth spending a bunch of time trying to make this functional? I think it is, because I think I have a couple other cutscenes that I have notes on that I want to create this kind of like, you know, casual chatting as we're moving vibe. And so I do want to get this one working. It just feels like I'm taking forever on some of these, but at the same time, this functionality will be very useful as we continue to build forward. So if we make this non-blocking, then she'll be able to speak. What if we just turn them all off? I don't know what the implications are, but let's just find out. Okay. Walking past here, cutscene, triggered. Let's fix up the placement of the dialogue. So I want Hero's dialogue to not clip through the clock. So we're going to try bottom left and see if that works. And then we'll have the second dialogue here be top center, which should be fine. I think the goddess being to the right of the clock feels good in this setup. And then I'm going to try breaking this. So I'm going to just hit like the confirm button as fast as possible to see if we can break this cutscene by spamming through the dialogue too quickly. Kind of, but also kind of not. Like, it got a little weird, obviously, because I was spamming through it, but, like, it didn't break. I could still move by the time we were done. I do want to change this one here to be blocking, so Hero moves and then speaks, because right now they're happening at the same time, and I don't like that particular aspect. Center left is not aligning correctly either. That's feeling closer. I don't think it's 100% correct, but I'm liking the way that feels. I like the direction of it. Why is center left not working? Bottom left. Custom doesn't do anything. That's just because we're repurposing the Unity one. If I do top center, it's also going to be in the way, I think. So I do think, unless it's bottom right I need, and it's kind of backwards from how I'm thinking about it. I think it might be a little off of what I think it is. I might need to do just a full pass on small, medium, large, and all the alignments. Yeah, because this is just going to get more complicated. Let's leave it as bottom right. I think that's fine for now. The movement is a little bit off in some spots, but again, I think it's going to be okay. I want to play with this one more, but I want to do some experimental stuff, and I don't think we should get bogged down on that. And instead, we're just going to move on to this one. Because even that waterfall one is just a lore cutscene. It might end up kind of throwing off the pacing, and we might want to honestly cut it. But we're just trying to kind of fill in a little bit of the gaps here before combat stuff will kind of help push the player forward. This is the next one we need to work on. This is in G7, Trapped Adventurer. This one also has a Trapped Adventurer adjust, which I just don't think we need these anymore. I don't know why I didn't think about it before, but we can just start with a move to the tile the player is on, and if they're already on that tile, they won't move. Navigate to tile. We're going to navigate the player to, what is that tile? The left tile here is 1410. And then we reveal these tiles over here where the adventurer is. I think this could use another noise alert, which I just like. Maybe the UI could be better or the animation could be better on it, but I like the idea of it. Slime. Noise alert. That's the component, and then for the entity, we'll put the noise alert over here on Adventurer 001 container. We can also have that first bit of dialogue happen before the reveal, because that's some tech we've built in recently. So we can have the noise alert, we can have the help dialogue, then we can reveal the tile, wait a bit, and then reveal the other tiles around. This does not need to be multiple reveal sets. This can be a reveal pattern of type 2 with a 0.1 delay between each of them, and it does not need a reveal delay. In fact, I think we don't even need this part anymore with the way the patterns are built. I'll give that a shot. It should look a little cleaner if we just use the reveal tile pattern as it's intended. A little too fast. Okay. Couple of things. I want to have the noise alert and the dialogue start before hero moves, and I want to make sure that we do a combat set unit direction. We're also going to make sure that we set the players facing to west, even if they're already standing on 410, we just want to make sure they're facing the right way. We do the reveal. All of this does feel super offset, though. I do want to look into how the noise alert is being placed, because I did this work recently, and I feel like something isn't quite right with the way that it's anchoring. It's anchoring bottom center. Should it be top center that it's anchoring to? And then for this dialogue with the help from this character, Adventurer 001. Dialogue. Yeah, that is a top center, so it should be appearing above the character. I feel like when the tile actually gets revealed, though, this is not quite in the right spot. Wonder if there's an issue with the anchoring setup. Yeah, that is definitely not top center positioning. It should be up a fair amount above that. And the alert was totally in the wrong spot if I set it to top center. So maybe we should try center for it. Noise alert. We'll try center. We can also adjust its anchoring specifically as well. But it's also possible that the fact that the dialogue is off implies that something about the anchoring code is just wrong, and so adjusting this one may be a waste of time if there's kind of a more fundamental issue. Yeah, because I want to try, just out of curiosity, well, we actually have a bit more dialogue we want to write here regardless, but I want to add another piece of dialogue above the adventurer's head. After they've been revealed, to see if the anchoring is the same, and I'm pretty positive it's not going to be. Top center. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh, we're at time too. We're gonna be taking a break for dinner. Gonna have a 2-hour break and return. I think it's mostly unlockable characters here today, and you know the drill. But yeah, no, we'll be back at 6. To probably continue with cutscenes, but I do think we're about to hit combat. Yeah, that is way higher up. So something about the way that it's calculating the position of the sprite when it hasn't been spawned yet is wrong. Okay, I want to see that one more time. I didn't notice the noise alert. And then I'm going to go get dinner. Yeah, and then we'll come back. We will probably spend a little bit more time on this cutscene. There is a little bit more work we mostly need to be doing on... Oh, did center not even display? Maybe that's why I didn't notice it. I did not see the noise alert again. Maybe it's because I was still talking. But there's some work we need to do on the boar so that the boar is doing its playful attack more consistently, and then we also need to work on the second half of this cutscene. Okay, so the noise alert did display, and its center is better, I think, but that might need to be, the noise alert positioning may need to be readjusted after I figure out why the dialogue box for this character isn't showing in the right spot when they are not revealed yet. But yeah, we have sword. Once the sword is unlocked, then we're going to get into fighting and actually winning versus the first slime. And then we need to get into actually failing that first run or winning that first run, depending on how you want to view it. And like actually unlocking the skill tree, you know, upgrading your skills. Like that's going to start coming into play soon. Just the way I design forward in time as if I was playing the game essentially. And so we're going to start hitting some combat tuning stuff as well, which will break up some of this cutscene work. That's about it though. We'll be back in 2 hours. Just about For now, though, this will be Tolhi signing out. Later, folks.